Adrienne?
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Let's bring in Dr. Wendy Patrick. She happens to be the winner of the California State Bar's Public Lawyer of the Year Award. Glad to have you with us, Wendy. How do these new allegations impact the former president's legal exposure?
Well, Adrienne, it's an interesting question because remember, the litigation this week is not about criminal exposure. It's about whether or not a special master is going to be appointed to go through these documents. But it's a question of time at this point. Remember, the raid happened, as you just pointed out, at the beginning of August. So why the delay? Is it a delay tactic? Those are some of the issues on the table this week. But in terms of how does it impact the former president? First of all, it raises an issue of concealment and commingling. Where were those documents actually found? Obviously, we see the photo spread that the FBI has shown, but is that where they were found? No. So we want to know a little bit more about why the president's lawyers didn't find them, didn't see them. They were obviously clearly marked. And then more importantly for the question this week on the court's docket is, does executive privilege or attorney-client privilege, two different things, potentially mean that you need somebody independent to go through them?
What kind of charges could stem from all of this? What's the penalty for obstruction, especially in a case of these classified documents?
Well, you remember they're looking at obstruction, they're looking at two other federal charges. But in terms of penalty, this is unprecedented in so many ways, not just the service of the raid on the home of a former president, but in terms of the political exposure. You're looking at not only a former president, but a potential future president. Definitely, at least that's what it looks like, a candidate in 2024. So the department has to move very slowly, not just in terms of what they plan to do with the evidence they found, but what they would plan to do if, in fact, they sought an indictment and were to be able to secure a conviction. So this is, because it's unprecedented, I can't imagine that this is something that they're going to seek the upper term, even if this moved forward and they had a successful prosecution.
So in terms of impacting the prosecution's overall case, if this does go to trial, how would this latest breakout of information affect the case?
I don't think it would affect the case because this is a leak of evidence. It's not that they wouldn't have had this and this photo wouldn't have been shown to a potential jury in the future. It's that we have it this morning. Because think about where we are. Show me the evidence, right? That's what everybody says on both sides of the aisle, including the former president's team. So we have now been shown a little bit of the evidence. But Adrienne, here's the other thing with this. Motions to suppress are routinely brought on the way to trial. So if, in fact, a motion to suppress, in other words, if the raid shouldn't have occurred the way it did, if the FBI agents looked somewhere they shouldn't have looked, if this were to be suppressed, it wouldn't factor because it wouldn't be a part of an upcoming trial. But I'm not convinced there's even going to be an effort to move forward criminally at this point. But if they do, I suppose we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
What do we know about how much power the president has to declassify documents like this? I mean, could they still clearly be marked as they were in this photo and yet be declassified with the president's privilege?
Well, that's a question that's been discussed because remember, there's no formalization of the declassification process. In other words, there's no stamp that says declassified. If we were to develop information, at least, that they were declassified, remember, there's the counter argument that that wouldn't have mattered in terms of where they were allowed to be stored. The National Archives, what an unlikely source for an investigation like this, but they've been trying to get these documents back since the president left office. So it's interesting, that quote that you read from Truth Social, because President Trump is now using this to his benefit right from the beginning when the raid occurred. And there are many Republicans that agree that it was unfair, that perhaps it shouldn't have gone forward the way it did, that it wasn't so much as to, yes, there may be probable cause, but should this have been the way they sought to get back the documents anyway? Even though they've tried subpoenas, they've tried negotiations, were they ready for this step? So the classification issue is simply one of whether or not that would be the status of the documents, not necessarily that he was allowed to have them.
Yeah, and we still aren't going to be privy to the kinds of information, clearly, that were in those documents, not at this time. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.